Nigeria is a country formed from hundreds of ethnic groups, several religions, and very different regional histories. This diversity has brought creativity and resilience, but it has also produced repeated clashes and deep mistrust among the tribes. Today, three major forces are pulling at the country's already shaky unity: a revived Biafra movement in the eastern region, rising violent conflicts in the Middle Belt, and growing foreign pressure, especially from the United States, framing Nigerian violence as Christian religious persecution. These three issues feed into one another. Each one increases anger, fear, and defensive action from the government, citizens, and international actors. And the more the country responds with force rather than dialogue, the more likely it becomes that Nigeria's political system could fracture and the country could break up. The Biafra issue is not a new conversation. The 1967 to 1970 civil war, driven by the attempts of the old eastern region to leave Nigeria, left deep scars that have never fully healed. Many Igbo people of the old eastern region still believe the region has been politically sidelined and economically shortchanged since the war ended. In the last decade, those old memories have become modern political agitation. IPOB, also meaning Indigenous People of Biafra, led by Nnamdi Kanu, has pushed the idea that the southeastern region is still not treated fairly in the Nigerian projects. While IPOB first gained attention through protests and radio broadcasts, the tone shifted as the government began to label the movement a threat. Kanu's long dragged-out trial and his recent conviction on terrorism charges has become a major turning point. To the government, it shows seriousness about security. To many in the southeast, it confirms their belief that the state treats their grievances as crimes rather than issues needing dialogue. The result is greater radicalization on both sides. The southeast has become more dangerous. Reports of deadly ambushes on highways, killings of traders, and organized attacks appear regularly in the news. Local officials often blame separatist militants or criminal groups taking advantage of the situation. Human rights organizations, both Nigerian and international, have documented many of these incidents. The pattern is predictable. Separatist groups declare sit-at-home orders. Businesses shut down. The economy suffers. Security agencies respond harshly. Retaliation follows. Ordinary people take the hit. Amnesty International and other monitors have linked many violent acts to armed groups connected in one way or another to IPOB or its splinter factions. Whether every attack truly comes from separatists or from criminals using the opportunity, the end result is the same: insecurity increases and public trust collapses. While the Southeast battles separatist tension, the Middle Belt is dealing with a different kind of crisis, one that mixes land pressure, ethnic identity, and religion into a painful cocktail. The Middle Belt sits between Nigeria's largely Muslim north and largely Christian south. It is home to farmers, herders, and dozens of ethnic groups. Because of rising population, shrinking grazing land, and climate stress in quotes, clashes over land and water have intensified. What started as disputes over cattle routes and farmlands now often turns into deadly attacks between communities. Mass killings in mid-2025 left hundreds dead across states like Plateau, Benue, and Nasarawa. Many local conflict resolution systems have broken down, allowing armed groups, criminal networks, and community militias to take over. Humanitarian reports show thousands displaced, with villages abandoned and livelihoods destroyed. The crisis is no longer just about land. It has become a struggle tied to identity, survival, and fear. What makes this moment different from similar conflicts in Nigeria's past is the powerful role of the diaspora. Nigerians abroad, especially those with strong ethnic or religious loyalties, now turn active lobbying campaigns in Western countries. They frame Nigerian violence in global language, religious genocide, state persecution, and ethnic cleansing. These campaigns have influenced how US policymakers see Nigeria. Recently, American institutions reclassified Nigeria as a quote, country of particular concern over religious freedom issues. With that designation comes political pressure, official warnings, and a shift in diplomatic tone. The Nigerian government strongly rejects these labels, arguing that the violence is caused by terrorists and criminals, not by a government targeting any religion. But the foreign pressure increases the sensitivity of every domestic issue. Local violence suddenly becomes an international story. Statements from international figures, especially from politicians like Donald Trump and his allies, have added fuel to the fire. Some of these comments suggest that the Nigerian government is enabling or ignoring religiously targeted killings. Others threaten sanctions or even military action if the situation does not improve. Such rhetoric hardens attitudes in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Government officials respond aggressively, sometimes with fear, emphasizing national sovereignty and claiming foreign actors do not understand the situation on the ground. Once global figures begin to speak in terms of genocide and intervention, many domestic players adjust their behavior. Some groups exaggerate their victimhood to attract foreign sympathy. Others intensify their militancy, believing the world is finally paying attention. Meanwhile, the Nigerian state doubles down on security tactics, creating an even wider trust gap with citizens. Each crisis, Biafran agitation, Middle Belt violence, foreign pressure, is dangerous on its own, but together they form a dangerous web. Separatists amplify their struggle using international platforms. Middle Belt groups frame their survival struggles as persecution to also gain support. Foreign governments issue warnings, making Nigerian leaders more defensive. Security agencies respond harshly, fueling more anger. Nigeria's long-standing political balancing tools, zoning, federal appointments, power sharing, and patronage networks struggle to work in times of rising violence. Local politicians focus on short-term gains, aligning with Abuja for protection, arming community groups, or making emotional appeals to their base. These survival tactics weaken national unity and push the country further toward disintegration. If Nigeria breaks, it may not happen with a dramatic declaration. It might happen slowly and quietly. Scenario 1. Gradual loss of state control. The government continues losing control of some southeastern highways and middle belt villages. Militias, separatist groups, and local power brokers take over. The map remains Nigeria, but the reality on the ground becomes fragmented. Scenario 2. Stronger secessionist push. If a new charismatic leader in the southeast unites the people and gains sympathy abroad, the Biafra movement could enter a new phase. External recognition, even soft support, could legitimize calls for a referendum or negotiated partition. Emergency powers, military checkpoints, and centralized policing become normal. Democracy weakens, trust dies, and people begin to look to local ethnic leaders for protection instead of the federal government. All these scenarios would reshape Nigeria's economy, politics, and international reputation. Considering the conviction of major separatist leaders and the mass killings in the Middle Belt, these outcomes feel more realistic now than just a year ago. Behind the headlines are real people. Families chased from their homes, farmlands burnt, markets closed, children missing school. Humanitarian organizations report serious displacement and food insecurity across affected regions. At the same time, misinformation spreads fast. Each side frames casualty numbers to support its story. Everyone claims to be the victim. Policymakers abroad, especially those relying on activist groups, sometimes misunderstand the deeper issues and reduce them to simple, quote, Christian versus Muslim or ethnic majority versus minority narratives. This leads to policies that either overreact with militarization or ignore the structural issues: land pressure, weak local governance, climate stress in quotes, and the lack of economic opportunity for millions of young people. Nigeria's situation is serious but not beyond repair. The country becomes vulnerable when leaders turn real grievances into political tools, when security forces respond without accountability, and when foreign actors add heat instead of clarity. To avoid a full breakup, Nigeria needs three things happening at once: genuine national dialogue, one that acknowledges past wounds and present fears; major investment in Middle Belt land reforms instead of just sending soldiers; more responsible international engagement focused on understanding the local realities rather than playing to domestic politics abroad. Still, if these steps are ignored, Nigeria could inch closer to breaking up. And in a situation where the center keeps weakening and the communities lose faith in the federal system, some Nigerians may begin to feel that breaking up peacefully and carefully might be the better path. The window to prevent that future is still open, but it is gradually narrowing. Thank you for joining us today. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you later.